Hello, this is episode 3 of Reversing Game Shaders. Today I will continue experimenting with the Vertex shader. This will be an initial reconnaissance of the shader and will not involve delving into the algorithm of the shader. I want to learn a bit more about the outputs of the Vertex shader. I will start by commenting out calls that set some of the outputs and observe what effect that has on the rendering. As you can see here, the object is rendered as normal. But instead of changing the shader in GPA, I will use an external shader assembly source file. So I copied the shader into a text document, and the first output I want to play around with is 09. So I'm going to find an instruction that modifies 09 and comment it out. And then in GPA, I will load up that source file and hit apply to re-render the object. And you can see that the details created by the normal map are no longer present. It's just the diffuse map and a little specular highlight. That's pretty interesting. So I'm going to go back to the shader source code. I'm going to let 09 be modified, and I'm going to look at 02 output. And I'm going to comment out that instruction. There's an instruction that sets it, and re-render this. Alright, so the normal details is back, but the specular highlight is gone. So that's pretty interesting. So I'm going to let 02 be modified, and I'm going to take a look at 03. I'm going to comment that instruction out and re-render using this modified shader. Okay, and in 02 the specular highlight is gone and the normal detail is still there. So let me comment out 09 again, and I'm going to comment out 03, but leave 02 present. Okay, so even though 03 and 09 are commented out, and 02 is present, the specular highlight does not show up. So what happens if I comment out 02 and uncomment 03? It doesn't show up again. Okay, let's have 02 and 03. Specular highlight is back. So clearly 02 and 03 are somehow related. So just by modifying a few of the outputs, I was able to establish that 09 has something to do with the normal map, and 02 and 03 have something to do with specular highlights. So I reverted the shader back to the default, and now I'm going to take a look at 08. So 08 is modified in two different places. Here its W component is modified, and here its XYZ components are modified. So I'm going to see what happens if I modify just the W component. I'm going to comment out this instruction, and I will essentially set it to 0. Well, that's interesting. So just by modifying the W component, the final output color of the object has been changed quite dramatically. Not sure why, but that's something just to keep in mind as I learn more about the shader. The next thing I want to try is to turn off most of the outputs and then turn them on one by one. I'm going to go back to the vanilla shader. I'm going to leave positions turned on. I'm going to start turning things off. I'm going to leave 08 on. Alright, let's re-render this. Alright. Have everything turned off except 08. Now, why is the model blue? Now, if you remember, I have a custom diffuse texture. And in the corner 0, 0, it's blue. So that's why the gun is blue. Since the UV coordinates per each vertex are now set to 0, 0. So now, I would like to turn on 6, output 6. So output 6 is calculated by a dot product with some matrix. So let's see what happens when we turn it on. Look at that. Now that looks like flat shading to me. So let's look closer at 06. 06 is computed from R0 dot producted with some matrix. R0 is computed from using a multiply add with V4, 14. Alright, so what is V4? So this says color, but I know that these are normals. So 06 are normals that have been transformed. So we can keep that in mind for the future. Alright, the next output I want to turn on is 01. So let's find where 01 is. So it's modified in two different places. Turn both of them on and re-render. Look at that, that's the diffuse texture. Alright, let's see. We know if we turn on 02 and 03, we'll get the specular back. Alright, there's our little specular highlight. Seven. Let's see what happens when I turn 7 back on. That one's harder to spot exactly what's going on. 8 is already on. 9. That's interesting. 9 is providing some kind of detail or modulation. We don't see the normals, but there's some kind of detail being added for sure. So far we have all the outputs turned on except outputs 4 and 5. I'm going to turn output 5 on. Looks like the normals are back if 5 is back on. What happens if we turn 4 on? Okay, it hasn't changed much, so it probably only adds a little bit of detail. So what we did is we kind of went through the outputs and turned them on one by one, turned some off, turned some on, played around with different combinations. And this is just an easy way to kind of get a sense of what's being used for what, to then later go through the math of how these outputs are calculated and to figure out how they're actually used and correlate that with the inputs. And that's what we'll do in the next video. Thank you for watching. Keep your powder dry.